This is the presentation about portraits. A portrait is an artwork of a person, usually from around their chest and up. A self-portrait is a portrait, but of yourself. A big thing we'll be talking about with portraits is proportion. Proportion is comparing the size of one thing or part to another thing or part for accuracy. So what I have drawn here is kind of like an upside down egg shape, and that's going to be the outline of our head. What you'll want to remember is that this curve right here is the very top of your head, it's the crown of your head, and then down here is your chin. So the first thing you'll do after drawing the outline of the head is split the face vertically and horizontally, both in half. So you're going to split the line, this vertical line down the center, and then this horizontal line down the center. Next, you're going to take this bottom half right here, and you're going to split it in half again by adding in that horizontal line. You're going to split this lower half in half again with another horizontal line. And the lines that you've created, at least the horizontal ones, are for the eyes up here. The second one is the nose, and the third one down here is for the mouth. Now the ears are going to span from the nose horizontal line all the way until above the eyes. That's about how large our ears are. So if I go ahead and plug in different facial features, and yeah, this drawing looks a little bit weird, but we're just plugging in different images. So we've got the eyes that are halfway down from the top of the head, because remember we split our head shape in half. Now this might look a little weird at first because normally we think the eyes are much higher up on the head, but I would recommend you look in the mirror straight forward, and you'll notice that from the crown of your head, the very top, not your hairline, down to your eyes is about halfway. And of course, all of these are going to vary a little bit based on just person to person because we're not all exactly the same. And then down here, you split that bottom half in half, and you have your nose, and that's going to line up with the bottom edge of your nose. I didn't mention, but usually this halfway line is going to split your eye right in the middle. And then the mouth, this kind of depends. For some people, it could be the bottom of their lip is on this line. For some people, it might be the center of their, like right between their lips. Usually this is right at halfway or a little bit higher than halfway between the nose and the bottom of the chin. And then we've got our ears. They go from a little above the eye all the way down to the bottom of the nose. You'll notice I've also added in the eyebrows, but I'll show you how to find the spacing in the next slide. To decide how wide to make the eyes, you want to try a little bit of trial and error. I would see how there are just these really rough ovals or circles. You can put those in, or you could just make little hash marks here, here, and here, just to kind of space out how big to make the eyes. A good rule of thumb is that the head is about 4 eyes across. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and then we've got a half eye here and a half eye here. So that makes 1, 2, 3, 3.5, and 4. And then to figure out where to place the eyebrow, is putting the eyeball right above the other eyeball. So you want to kind of have this height of the eye, place it right on top of the other eye, and that's about the space you'll need for your eyelid and then your brow bone. So right here you've got pretty much 2 eyes stacked on top. That's where you'll put the eyebrow. Now to determine how wide to make the nose, this is a good indicator. You're looking at the inner corner of the eye. You're going to drop a line straight down. So try not to make a line that angles all the way out here because that would be too wide, and don't make a line that curves all the way in. Try and make this as perfectly straight up and down vertical as you can. Drop a line straight down from the inner corner of the eye, and that'll be how wide to make the nose. Same thing on the other side, right here. And you'll drop that line all the way down to your nose line. So what you've sort of created here is a box that you'll build your nose in. And then to make the width of the mouth, you're going to drop a line either from the inside of the iris, and remember the iris is like the colorful part of your eye, so you can make a line that goes straight down from the left, not the left, but the inner edge of the iris, straight down, that's going to be the edge of the mouth. Or for some people who have slightly wider or larger mouths, you're going to go from the center of the pupil, the black part of your eye, and drop a line straight down. And that could be as wide as the mouth. So it depends person to person, like I've said before, on different sizes of different facial features. Now for the shoulders, we often have a tendency to make the shoulders really short because we just don't think there's that much to our shoulders. But in reality, your shoulders, if you go from one side all the way to the next, you should be able to fit 2 heads on each of your shoulders. Kind of a funny image to think about, but if you ever look in the mirror, you can see that your shoulders are about 3 head widths across. So we're going to look at just some people and see how those general proportion lines line up on their faces. And again, things are going to be slightly off, just depending from person to person, because again, all people are different. If we all were exactly proportioned the same, we'd end up looking a lot more similar than we do. And so you'll notice that he has a shorter mouth, so even from lining up from those pupils, it doesn't quite make it the same size as the mouth. So you'd have to refer back to your photo to get more accurate drawings. And then we've got our next person here, and dropping those lines down, splitting them in half here for the eyes, and then half again, and half again. We've got everything lining up pretty similarly, but for any of those extra changes, like her eyes are a little bit more elongated, so they go a little bit further in, and her nose is slightly wider, and the mouth is up just a little bit from where we would normally split it. But again, that comes with you paying attention to the photo of the person you chose and not just relying on the really basic proportions that I was outlining before. The proportions that we outlined before are really good at giving a basic beginning, and then you're going to refer back to the photo of your person that you chose for all the specifics. After you have watched the presentation, after you have practiced your own proportions of a face, the next step and last step of the day, you're going to submit a portrait picture of anyone you want on Canvas, and you're going to save it to your iPad. The picture on your iPad is what you're going to refer to each day as you are drawing your portraits on paper. So what to look for when you are searching for a photo, you need to look for a straight-on view, which means the person is looking straight at the camera. If you choose a picture where someone's face is tilted maybe 3/4 away, they're not looking right at the camera, the proportions that we just went over aren't going to work super well for you. You're going to have to do a lot of basing the proportions and shapes of those facial features off of the photo, which makes it a little harder because you can't start from that basic, those like basic ground rules. Next thing, I want you to avoid filters. So try not to pull a picture off of Snapchat. A lot of those filters will remove the range of values. It makes things either really, really bright or sometimes really dark, but usually really bright, so there's no range of values, there's no good middle values or dark shadows. Choose a picture with clear or good resolution, nothing super blurry. The face should fill the photo. I don't want to see a picture of the entire person's body because the face on that photo is going to be tiny. Should have a good range of values, like I've mentioned. Good highlights, really bright spots, range of values in the middle. And remember, value is the lightness and darkness of a surface, and good shadows. And then the last thing you'll do before submitting it and saving it to your iPad is you're going to edit that photo in the Photos app to make it black and white. This is going to help you determine the values of your image when you start drawing or shading it in pencil. So we've got a good example and a bad example. The bad example on the left is very blurry. The angle of the face is kind of tilted up a little bit, so the proportions are going to be harder to draw. And the face is not very big in the whole photo. The photo on the right is a good example. It's very clear. I was not moving while the picture was taken. The face is taking up most of the picture, and I'm looking straight forward to the camera. So you might not have a bunch of control over how that person is looking at the camera if you're choosing someone famous or just like a photo off the internet. But go ahead and search through a couple different photos. Try to find the best one. But if you are taking your own photo of someone or of yourself, try to stick to those rules as well.